Dumelang Sanbonani, hello South Africa. A very warm welcome to Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
And I'm your host, Mqolisi Wamasango. As you can see, we're still keeping safe, still keeping our distance, Jackie, and our masks on. We've also just sanitized. Godwa, we still continue to have very important and impactful conversations, Konalago Expressions Namhlanje, as we ask the big question, Muntomosha, are we doing enough to celebrate young women who are making an impact? I'm so excited about this particular show because my co-host got the opportunity to speak to some of these very powerful women who are making a difference in their respective spaces. What do you think about the conversation we're having, Namhlanje? Do participate in Kundlen Zethu Zokuxhumana. Take a look at this.
My grandparents knew the importance of empowering their children with education. I stand here as a product of that dream that was validated by education. I stand here boldly as a strong, empowered woman. I am Shudufhadzo.
So right now I'm speaking to the reigning queen, Miss South Africa 2020, Shudu, and we're obviously going to be having this discussion around women empowerment, but most importantly, how her reign is going. Shudu, a very warm welcome to Expressions. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for inviting us to your home.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so Shudu, we just wanted to know, just as a start, how is your reign sort of coming along? What have you achieved so far?
My reign is going pretty well. We've achieved quite a bit, especially through the mental health initiative that we're doing, Mindful Mondays. And there's a lot of things in the pipeline, but I just feel I'm the type of person that likes to get things done before I speak about them.
Tell us a little bit about your specific and special focus on mental health. Why was it so important to you?
Mental health affects everyone to different degrees, in fact, but then it's a subject that's not really spoken about and is considered a taboo subject. And my goal is to actually just move it from being a taboo subject to one that's openly discussed in public forums. It's quite important for people to say that, listen, I'm not okay.
My question for you is, in the past year, we've witnessed a global wave of mass demonstrations against gender-based violence and the Black Lives Matter movement. If you could mobilize a group of people, what movement would you mobilize and why?
I would call my movement the mindful movement. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death between people aged 15 and 29. 1 in 3 people are expected to suffer from mental illnesses in their lifetime. So I believe that mobilizing people to strive for mental health would actually fix so many social ills in our society. And that is what I would mobilize.
As a student, especially students, as a student that's struggled with anxiety here and there, stress, because even stress is part of mental health, I began trying to focus on it, and based on the things that I've seen in my community back home in Venda. So when I got this platform, I was like, no, it's time to make a change. And basically start speaking about mental health in a public forum.
Mm-hmm. What have you been doing specifically on the ground around mental health? I mean, tell us about the projects that you've been part of.
So on the ground, I do have a foundation called Shudufhadzo Foundation, and we are focusing on mental health, but then specifically our focus with the foundation with the specific school that we adopted. We adopted a school called Shudufhadzo School for kids with intellectual disability, because kids that are suffering from intellectual disability are at very high risk of mental health because they're often stigmatized and they're outcast in societies. So my goal was to focus on their ability instead of their disability by cultivating their mental fitness through their physical fitness.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of just the legacy, what would you want to be remembered for as Miss South Africa 2020?
I'd like to be remembered as someone that opened the conversation of mental health. Through Mindful Mondays, you get a lot of people sending me messages saying, thank you, through this I've gotten help, through this I've reached out to this person, through this. And that's the legacy that I know that I've already left, if that makes sense. I've already left that because a lot of people are becoming more comfortable to say that, listen, I need help, to say that, listen, I've gotten help and I'm doing so much better. So to better someone's life and to be of service to other people, that is my legacy. And I remember even before I won Miss South Africa, I said, even if only one life is impacted, impacted. But now we impact thousands of lives. So if that's the legacy that I have to look back on, I'm very, very proud of it.
You know, and then on this particular episode, we wanted to look at women empowerment, we want to look at women's rights, but obviously how women are having a voice in this particular platform. What does that mean to you to be, you know, when we're talking about women empowerment as Miss South Africa currently right now, what does it mean to have a voice for you?
Platforms like these actually amplify it, and it shows what happens when you give women a seat at the table. I think for the longest time, we've had a society that's very unequal in terms of gender equality. And when we speak of women empowerment, it's about getting every single woman at the seat of the table, for them to carve out their own paths without actually being compared to their male counterparts. So for me, it just means that I'm carving out my own path, I'm creating my own legacy, I'm showing what women can do, like my strengths as well, and amplifying the voice that I already have.
What do you think are some of the pivotal or significant challenges that young people are facing currently right now, especially during COVID?
I think there's a lot of challenges that we face as the youth. For example, there's the high unemployment rate, youth unemployment rate, where you can study, but then you have no guarantee of where your life will go. So there's the pressure to succeed, because obviously social media adds more pressure to us, where we don't give ourselves enough grace, enough self-kindness to actually say that you're doing your best, and your best should be enough. So I think that those are the challenges that young people are facing, wanting to succeed, but having the lack of opportunities in order for that to become a reality. We are often told that if you do this, if you do that, you'll become successful, but then most often than not, it's never really the case. So I think, especially during COVID, what has taught us is the importance of agency adaptation, where we need to cultivate an entrepreneurial mindset, where we start carving out our own paths, as I said before, in order to actually secure the future that we want.
You're a beauty queen, obviously, and you're absolutely gorgeous. And we know that beauty standards are some of the reasons why young people, at least young girls, feel like they're inadequate, and it affects a lot of their confidence. I want to find out from you, when it comes to confidence and, you know, this platform that you have as a beauty queen, what would you like to say to young girls out there who are looking at you and say, oh, she's so gorgeous, she's so beautiful, but I don't feel like I am beautiful, I don't feel so confident about myself? I mean, what advice would you give them around self-worth and being able to value themselves?
I can tell them that I've been there. I've had countless number of times growing up where I looked at myself and I didn't find any beauty in myself at all. But only when I started practicing self-kindness and self-love did I start really seeing myself. A life coach actually told me, Yvonne from Firepower, she told me that some days you need to look in the mirror and say, I love you 3 times. And then some days you need to find things that you love. You know, you could be your eyes, it could be the little things, because you often look outside for validation, but then the only validation that you need is from yourself. If you don't validate yourself first, no one else will. So what I can say to them is that, listen, you're beautiful, you are more than worthy, you are powerful as well. Just start being kind to yourself and start looking at yourself, and you'll see all the beauty that's needed and that's there.
And after your reign, what can we expect from Shud?
There's a lot that's happening, but one thing that I didn't do was plan to be Miss South Africa. So I don't really plan for the future. I work hard to make sure that I secure my next. But whatever happens, wherever life goes, like after being Miss South Africa, the world is your oyster, and I'm really looking forward to taking over the world.
A truly phenomenal young woman who reminds us that nothing is indeed impossible. We continue with this also important conversation after the break. You are watching Expressions.
Welcome back. You're still watching Expressions, and this is your #1 youth current affairs show. Siqhubekela phambili ke ngokukhulumisana nabantu besifazane who are making a significant impact kule mikhakha le abakuyo. What do you think about the conversations that we're having namhlanje? Do participate enkundleni zethu zokuxhumana. Take a look at this insert.
Whoa. What are you doing here? Wenzani lan? What are you doing here? Because I know you're not supposed to be here.
Now, my next guest, I'm so excited to be speaking to her. Her name is Heron, and she is 15 years old, and she is going to be representing Mzansi in New York. So let's find out a little bit more about her and exactly what she's going to be doing in New York. Tell us a little bit about that.
So in New York, I'm going to be showcasing my talent in front of the whole world, actually. And I'm going to be acting dancing, and modeling.
How did you actually find out about this particular competition that you entered into?
I found it on Instagram. It was an Instagram post telling us about auditions. It's called 33andMe Talent Agency. I'm actually signed with it. And I did my first auditions and I got a call back. And as it went on, I showcased my talent in front of American judges. So we perform in front of them and basically they have to judge us and then they give us international invitations to go showcase the talent in New York. I will be dancing, hip hop, and I will be acting and modeling.
Sitting all alone, mouth full of gum in the driveway.
And now that you're going to New York, what are you looking forward to the most about traveling there?
I love LA and I love Hollywood. I feel like I look up to many great performers there. And I'm hoping to come back with an award in South Africa because I really believe that I'll be successful. I haven't been that careless, no, that's not my thing. I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
And your friends and your family, what do they think about you going to New York?
They're really excited, especially my grandma because I'm a first grandma. And then she's really excited. She's like, do it. I know you can do it. And my mom is like, my baby, do it. We know you, like, do it.
Mpos, you are the proud mother of the very talented Heron. How do you feel about her actually being able to make it to New York and to showcase her talent in front of Americans?
Sure, I am very proud of her. I'm excited for her. And the way she has so much confidence in her, she makes me not to doubt that she's actually going to make it there.
My mom is my dad. My mom did everything she could for me. She's the reason I'm here and you're not. And I'll never forgive you for that. So before I do anything, I'll regret. Get out of my office or call security.
As a parent, I mean, they're juggling schoolwork and, sports.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of support were you giving her just to make sure that she is on this kind of a level where she's performing on a world stage?
With her, what I try to do, I actually like the fact that she's into all this entertainment thing because it keeps her focused onto school. Because I told her that if you're not making it an effort in your schoolwork, then you're not going to be able to do these things because that means it's going to distract you. So she's making sure that she balances her life just like that, yes, because she loves what she does.
In terms of sponsorship, firstly, how much does she have to raise in order to travel to New York? And how has that journey been for you in terms of being able to attain sponsorship for her?
She needs to raise about, I think, 84,000 for herself. And for everything else, that means performing, hotel stay, the touring that they're going to do, and the training that they're going to give them before they actually go to perform. And then there has to be another, I think it's about 90 or 80, around about the same amount for her guardian, because they said she's 16, she cannot go there alone. So we have to raise about 120 something thousand.
And you're going to be going to New York with her, hopefully. What are your expectations? I mean, what are you hoping she'll achieve when she gets to New York?
She's going to get to actually bring a trophy with when she comes home, and for all those doors to open up for her, because when she makes it there, I know she's going to make it big in Mzansi.
There are lots of girls right now who are watching you. What would you like to say to them, especially the ones that look up to you and want to do what you're doing?
I would like to say, don't give up and don't listen to people who take you down, because it doesn't matter where you come from or whether you're poor or rich. You can be poor or rich and be successful at the same time. Even if you don't have money, fight for it. Then you'll be successful like I am doing.
the perfect epitome of black girl magic. And indeed, she is making such a huge impact. And as a country, we definitely need to make sure that we are celebrating young women such as this. We continue after the break. You're watching Expressions.
Now, are we doing enough to celebrate young women who are making an impact in society? That's the conversation we're having namhlanje on Expressions. If you just joined us, welcome to the show, and we look forward to continue this journey with you as my co-host Jacqueline has these conversations with these phenomenal women. Take a look at the next insert.
Now we're on location in Pretoria. We're going to be meeting a phenomenal young lady by the name of Ntando, and she is the reigning Miss Universe Teen South Africa. I know you've got a lot of accolades. I mean, at some point you were Miss Teen South Africa, and now you're Miss Teen Universe South Africa. So talk to us about some of the titles that you've won.
So I have always loved pageantry, and from 9 years old, that's when we just started watching the Miss South Africa pageants and the Miss Universe pageants. So I think my passion really started there, and every single year we'd never miss Miss South Africa, and we'd watch it every single year without missing it. So my mom really saw that I loved it, because when they'd be walking, I'd grab my mom's shoes and I'd be there modeling and pretending when they called the winner that it's me, and I'd be like, thank you, thank you. And I think my mom just saw it from there, and she actually decided to enter me into my first pageant when I was 14 years old. She entered me into Miss SA Teen Ambassador, and I actually ended up winning that pageant. So I just won my first pageant. I was going into the pageant industry and amateur, not knowing anything about it. I didn't have a coach, I didn't have a modeling agency, so we just went off of YouTube videos and Google, the internet, researching questions, researching how to walk, what's the best turns to do. And I think I was an underdog in that competition, but I managed to, pull out my best moves and actually win the pageant. And then I did another pageant after that year of reign. I entered Miss Teen Commonwealth South Africa. I didn't win that pageant. I came second princess. So I was a little bit discouraged from that. And my mom just said, you know what? You've got to pick yourself up. Let's keep going. Let's keep trying. And that's when she saw Miss Teen Universe South Africa. Now, it was a fairly new pageant, so nobody really knew about it. But then she said, you know what? Go for it. And that's what we did. We entered into this pageant. I had a bit more knowledge and a bit of experience in the pageant industry now. So we are there and it's complete silence. And I remember closing my eyes and just praying, saying, Lord, please, I really would like to win this crown. And they announced me. They said, Ntando, Skudla. And I was ecstatic. It was just a complete moment of bliss, absolute bliss. I remember looking at my mom, she's crying, and I remember just being so proud of myself, and all the sacrifices and all the discipline and hard work actually paid off.
And now that you are in your new reign, right, as Miss Teen Universe 2021, I mean, what are you looking forward to doing most? What are the kind of charities that you're going to go into? I mean, you said you're passionate about gender-based violence. I mean, what can we expect from you in terms of this reign? Starting to get into charity work, I didn't know that would soon become one of my passions. Going out there, speaking to young girls and hearing their stories, because to be quite honest, I was very oblivious to other people's circumstances and other people's realities. So exposing myself to all of that was just, it was amazing, because it really opened my mind to, bigger than my own little bubble. It became a complete change. Just looking at everyone else's circumstances and seeing what I can do to actually make a change. That I can say was by far my biggest highlight. Trying to make a difference in the education is one thing that you can expect from me, and also continuing to have dialogues with people who actually have the power to make a change with different issues that we're facing as a country. It's something that you can also expect. But what I'm most excited for is to represent South Africa in Dubai in
the Miss Teen Universe International Pageant.
I mean, you're 17 and this is your matric year.
Yes.
So how are you going to balance your current reign and the responsibilities that come with, your schoolwork?
You know, it takes a lot of discipline, and I think I've actually been exposed to that with my previous title, and working towards this crown, I had to make a lot of sacrifices, sacrificing going out with my friends, sacrificing doing some of my hobbies that I've actually enjoyed, and, sacrificing good food, to get in shape, going to the gym constantly. Those are the types of sacrifices and, the discipline that it takes to say, you know what, even though this would be nice, what's going to benefit me in the future?
We want to find out, you've mentioned the fact that you've had opportunities where you're speaking to young girls, and there are lots who are watching the show right now. If you could give them word of advice, inspiration, especially during these tough times, what would that be?
For me, I think the biggest thing is to, broaden their horizon, to let them dream bigger, to know that you can be a doctor. Your circumstances don't define what you are ultimately going to become. I love that Zozibini speaks about representation, and I think that's very important now. And I think it's something that's actually coming into play now. We have a lot of people who come from underprivileged backgrounds who are actually making it now, who are stepping up and showing other people that it is possible. You just have to take your life and work hard for what you want, and actually take opportunities that you get and seize them and use them to your advantage. It shows you that you can make a difference. I'm 17 years old now. Back then, never would I have thought that I can go and do charity, I can go and impact someone else's life. And here I am doing it constantly.
Ntando, in the next 5 to 10 years, what does the future look like for you?
So actually, in the next 5 years, I'd like to finish start my degree and finish my degree. I'd like to go study town planning, and I'd like to enter Miss South Africa. That's the dream goal, and to enter Miss Universe ultimately. So that's one of my biggest dreams.
Well, Mgo, we've come to the end of this episode. My goodness, I feel so privileged. I spoke to Shudu, I spoke to Ntando, and I spoke to Heron. I spoke to women who are not only multi-talented, but women who are indeed making such a huge impact in our country. And I think as young girls out there, this reminds us of what girl power actually really looks like, and most importantly, what black girl magic actually is all about. And I hope you're encouraged, Kochaya, and inspired as I was, to make sure that in whatever space you're in, you get to redefine it and reshape it, and you yourself make an impact.
I'm so glad that you had fun on this show, although I feel a bit left out. But nice one, Pan. I certainly enjoyed watching all those conversations you were having. I think it's also inspiring to see how young women are now, at a point where they're empowered and able to make decisions and are able to be placed against their male counterparts. It's a really good thing. It shows that we're making strides as a society, which takes me to a quote by Umama Maya Angelou, where she said that when one woman stands up for herself, she stands up for all the women. And it's a good thing, good Lagwe expressions. We didn't wait for August to celebrate them, right, Jackie? Thank you so much once again, Nambugeli, for watching and joining us, Namhlanje, and for your participation. Till next time, Bye.
Adios, muchachos. Bye.